Hello, my name is Jordi Ibern. I'm a Reiki, meditation, mindfulness teacher, a therapist, and the founder of Kisetsu Reiki and Meditation School. Welcome. Let's talk today about the ego, because talking about the ego is quite popular when you belong to the fields of yoga, Reiki, meditation, mindfulness. There's always the ego in the conversations, in the classes, in the teachings. I'm not quite sure that everybody thinks the ego is the same. For some psychologists, the ego is one thing. For some yogis, the ego is another thing. But it's very common that when we talk about the ego, we say that the purpose, it's almost the goal of any spiritual practice is to eliminate, to kill, to eradicate completely the ego. And I'm disagree on that. Before, when I introduced myself, I said, my name is Jordi Ibern. I'm a Reiki, meditation, mindfulness teacher, a therapist. I could add, I live in Barcelona. I am married. I love reading, traveling. This is the description of who I am right now. And I think it's correct. My name is Jordi. I'm a Reiki, meditation, mindfulness teacher. I am a therapist. I live in Barcelona. I am the founder of Kisetsu Reiki Meditation School. I am married. I love traveling. I love reading. However, I could change my name like many yogis do. I could move and live in another city. I could stop teaching Reiki, meditation, mindfulness. I could stop being a therapist. I could get divorced. I could stop liking so much reading or traveling. And the question is, would I still exist? I would still exist. I am not deep inside a Reiki meditation mindfulness teacher. I'm something else, but something that doesn't have a name. But in life, in real life, I need names. I use, even my name, Jordi, is a given name. But without the name, I'm still something that exists. The ego is the identity that we take, that we use for some period of time in our life. We need the ego. The problem is when we get attached to the ego, the same that if we get attached to the clothes, because eventually you need to take off your clothes before putting some other clothes on. At some point, some time of my life, I was a kid, and I was saying to the people, I'm a kid. I can't say this anymore. Maybe I am, but I'm a grown-up man. So even if I say I'm a kid, we both know that I'm not a kid. At some point in my life, I was a teenager, a student, the boyfriend of. I was a person who lived in Lleida, my hometown. Everything changed. And with every change, it was a crisis of identity, because the ego is always changing. It serves a purpose for some time, and then it needs to die for the new ego to be born. And then we live with this ego for some time. Sometimes it's just a few months, sometimes it's a couple of decades, but eventually this ego will also die. If we get too attached to this ego, to this identity, is when we have problems. You are not your job, the wife or the husband of your partner, the son or the daughter of. You're much more than that. You are not a citizen of. You were born there, or you lived that, but this can change. And at the end, the last crisis, when we're going to die, we need to leave everything behind. And if possible, to die completely naked. The real self is what's inside. But we need the ego, we need the clothes to interact with each other, to learn, to live. So I disagree on the idea of killing the ego, making the ego the bad person of our movie. The ego is necessary. And it's balanced as long as you understand that it has an expiring date. When you see the changes, when you see that the ego doesn't serve the purpose of living anymore, it's time to let it go and wait for the new one. Just do not get attached to it. Do not get attached to it, because you're not that. You're not the CEO of, you're not the owner of, you're not the son or the daughter of. You're much more than that. This is the identity, temporary identity that you're using. Oh, try to see the ego like the clothes. Even though for some years you use more or less the same clothes, do not get attached to them. You're not the clothes. Sometimes you need to open your wardrobe and give away some clothes and change for the new ones. But remember that the real you is not what you're having on this wardrobe. The real you is what you see on the shower. The real you is inside. It's what it's not covered with anything. In deep meditation, you can have an insight of that. But in real life, you see me. And when you see me, you see a part of the true self and a big part of my ego. And this is fine. But I'm pretty sure that you know that I am not this close. I'm much more. The same is valid for you. So please do not kill the ego. Understand the ego. And do not get attached to the ego. Embrace the ego, but always understand that you're much more. And probably the answer to the question, who am I then, remains unanswered.